I think that's really, really chilling. Let's talk to Amy McCarthy about this, political campaigner at Greenpeace UK. Again, Amy, my antipathy towards this action isn't antipathy towards Greenpeace particularly, or at all. That's creepy what Philip Evans just said there. That is stalking a family before you go to their house in their absence. That's what that is.
Hi, Sheila. Nice to speak to you. I wouldn't characterise it the way you have. The Prime Minister, his engagements are public information. So, it's been reported in the press every day that he's going on holiday to his California penthouse. So we knew no one would be there. That is our top priority. We're not here to scare anyone. We're not here to do anything that will put anyone at risk. Safety is always our first priority whenever we do anything like this. So we made sure the property would be completely empty when we went anywhere near it. There was no one on site. We even knocked on the door to, in case there was any security or anyone, so we could identify ourselves. We're Greenpeace. We are here to peacefully protest on behalf of the future of our planet. That's what we've always done and what we always will do.
If you peacefully protested on my roof or in my garden or on my doorstep, in my absence, I would still regard you as trespassing on my property.
Of course.
And alarming my neighbours. I mean, it's a different scenario there. Perhaps there aren't neighbours. But, when it comes to the law, as it applies to a person's privacy and their home's privacy, doesn't the same apply to Rishi Sunak and his wife and children?
Well, with the greatest respect, we wouldn't protest on your roof as you're not Prime Minister.
No, I'm trying to say, yeah, so you say him being Prime Minister means all bets are off.
Him being responsible and accountable for these hugely damaging decisions that he's taking, opening up this drilling frenzy for North Sea oil and gas exploration, while we're seeing, we've just seen holidaymakers being repatriated from Greece. And now our Prime Minister is saying, we'll go for more fossil fuels. He's pouring fuel on the fire.
Well, those fires were mostly, I take the point that I and others have made about the heat, making it harder to put out those fires. But most of those fires, or all, as far as we know so far, were started by human hand. But
they've been attributed to climate change responsible for the
difficulty in putting them out, yeah. Was the dryness of the ground, yeah.
Yes, and for flooding in other countries, for famine across large parts of the globe.
But you talk about accountability. Yesterday, the Prime Minister sat in this very studio for half an hour, taking calls from people, including calls about the oil and gas decision. I talked about it on air for an hour as well, that element on air for an hour as well, in which people made their feelings known, called him to account for it, said they would vote in a particular way because of it. He goes to the House of Commons and he is challenged on it there. He goes to parliamentary committee rooms and is challenged on it there. He will be challenged on it time and time again. Now, I'm not saying that means you'll get the outcome you want. I'm not saying you shouldn't protest either. I'm saying that it's vital you keep people on your side. And as it happens on this, people won't all agree with me, but I think there will be people who think he's home. I mean, come on. And they'll stop listening. They'll stop listening to you is what I'm saying.
Okay, but you're saying we need to keep people on side. But yeah, we need our Prime Minister to be on side, because whose side is Greenpeace on? It's on the side of the planet and our future.
No, I mean listening to you. You need to keep people listening to you. And I wonder.
I think we are doing that. I think, obviously there's a debate in the country, and I think the Prime Minister and the current government are doing their utmost to create this toxic debate around the climate. They're trying to polarize the debate and sow division, which is deeply cynical in my view. And the science has been clear for years. If we want to keep global warming within a safe, livable, within 1.5, we cannot have any government anywhere in the world drilling for more fossil fuels. So, Rishi Sunak is out there doing his job as Prime Minister,
has
and we're doing our job as Greenpeace.
Has that house been in your sights for some time, or did the discussion after Uxbridge, the by-election in Uxbridge, and the use of ULEZ as a policy, as a campaigning policy, and what's been said since, was it in your sights before then, his private family home?
We, this action is in response to his announcement this week that he will open up this drilling frenzy in the North Sea, over 100 potentially new.
But was it ever a potential target?
We've been there before. We went there a few months ago. We all dressed up and had a pool party outside Rishi Sunak's house when he decided to.
You were outside, weren't you? Am I right in saying you were outside then?
Yeah, we were outside the grounds. So you
were in public pathway.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Well, you're allowed there, but this is rather different, isn't it? Sitting on his roof.
You asked if we've been to his house, so yes, we have. That was my answer.
All right. Well, it's different, isn't it?
I agree with you. It's different, but I mean, the thing is, like as I've said, this is an extraordinary decision from our Prime Minister in extraordinary times. How are we supposed to respond in a way that, can meet that level of damage that he's prepared to do on our planet? And this is not in the interest of anyone to go for more oil and gas. It's very expensive for UK bill payers. We're in a cost of living crisis. No one can afford to pay their energy bills. So why isn't the government investing in renewable energy, which is way cheaper than oil and gas? We don't own this oil and gas. It belongs to the companies that extract it, and they sell it for the highest price they can get on the international market.
And I don't want to minimise the work that you do. I genuinely don't. But everything you have just said there to me has been said time and time and time again by ordinary LBC listeners who call this programme, who do not break the law and trespass on somebody's private home. And they've come to the same conclusions as you, and we have discussed them openly, up to and including challenging the actual Prime Minister in that chair opposite me on Nick Ferrari's programme on those very issues. So what have you achieved? What have you achieved other than making your organisation and your activists look a little out there?
Well, I mean,
because and the only reason I challenge you in this way is in your shoes, I would want people listening to me and being on side and learning from me. Nothing you have said to me has taught me anything other than you're prepared to invade somebody's home.
We didn't invade his home.
You did.
We went on top of the building. We'd never set foot inside his home. But Greenpeace has
grounds around the home. It was his home.
Okay. This is what Greenpeace has done since we started. And we will always take non-violent, peaceful protest when we believe it is necessary. We have broken laws before to stage various protests, and we've entered private property. We also, at the moment, see a government that's introducing legislation to crack down on legitimate forms of peaceful protest. So when we talk about breaking the laws, who's creating the laws and how are people supposed to protest? Because we live in a society now where, you could potentially get arrested for going and holding a banner outside Number 10. People have done that forever. The suffragettes did far more damage than we have done today. And I think we're all quite grateful to the suffragettes and what they did.
But I'd be keen to know where your limits are on this, though, because when I engaged on Twitter this morning about this, people who were in favour of the protests that you carried out or were tolerant of it in a way that I wasn't, were saying things like, remember Rainbow Warrior? And of course I do, and that was appalling. And people were saying, well, we made sure his kids were there, which I think is a little bit like saying, we only kicked one of your legs, so, the other one's fine. And when you say it's peaceful, I understand why you say it's peaceful. But again, if you came into my garden, mob-handed, unannounced, I wouldn't regard that as peaceful. I would regard that as an act of social in social violence against me if you just took over my home for a few hours.
I completely take your point. But again, the point is, this is the Prime Minister. It's not just an ordinary citizen.
But again,
this is the Prime Minister.
I know, but
also,
hang on. No, please let me make this point. On that, the reason I'm wincing at saying this is the Prime Minister, I've sat in this studio. I've sat in this studio twice now and announced the death of MPs who've been stabbed to death by somebody who disagreed with them and who thought the fact that they were an MP made them fair game. Now, I throw that at you not because I think this was akin to that, but I personally wouldn't want to be in the same ballpark as anything that says because you're the Prime Minister or because you're an MP, sometimes invading your home or your space or your person. I know that's not what happened here, but it is okay because no.
I completely agree. There is never any excuse for violence. Never. And Greenpeace is very clear on that.
Because he's the Prime Minister, I can X, Y, or Z. You don't know don't know what someone's going to do with that attitude. That's why I'm nervous of that attitude.
Okay, we were very clear. If there was any sign of anyone in or around the property, we would not have gone ahead with this. We're not there to scare anyone. We're not there to, cause any risk or harm to anyone. We are peacefully trying to stand up for the future of this planet. That's what we're doing.
Do you think if Rishi Sunak's daughters learn that even in their absence, Greenpeace were at their house today and climbed onto their roof and used ladders to get into the house grounds, and when I was a 7, 8, 9-year-old girl and I had a bedroom in the house, and that would bother me, that would frighten me that people were able to do that. And I'm sure Mr. Sunak and his wife have means of trying to protect their children from that kind of thing, but I wouldn't want to play any part in frightening children, and you might have, for all you know.
Sure, of course. I wouldn't either. And,
But you might have. You've left room for that to be a possibility.
Millions of children around the world are terrified of climate change. Millions more are suffering the impact of climate change.
And so 2 more won't hurt.
Yeah, but more in this country are suffering the consequences of the cost of living crisis.
I know. And it's being spoken about. It's being spoken about. It's being challenged.
So it has to change. And when is enough? And when is the government going to listen? When is the Prime Minister going to pursue the solutions, which are cheaper, cleaner and safer renewable energy, so that people can afford to pay their bills and they can look forward to a planet that's not on fire and they can go on holidays and things? When is the government going to prioritise those things?
It's a brilliant cause, but horribly presented protest. I mean, the lady who spoke just now, I had 2 problems there. 2 things. Everything about the cause was fantastic. I've got nothing to dispute with the green cause, and in fact, it's a huge issue. We need to put get more traction, put more impetus. But the way you do the protest, I want it to be having some positivity. I want people to be joining the protest. I want fence-sitters to come towards the idea. But this is a mess. You just don't go and sit in someone's... And I like the way she said that we didn't invade into anyone's property. We were on the car. We were not inside the car, so it's all right, is what she was roughly leading into. So I think they may have lost it by a few inches.
Well, there are people calling and tweeting from my conversation this morning on Twitter who are in favour of this kind of action. And I just think if you take it to somebody's home, you begin to lose the argument. And somebody's private home, you begin to lose the argument. I just think I think it's the thin end of a very dangerous wedge, and I wouldn't want to be on it. I would challenge Rishi Sunak on those oil fields as strongly as Amy McCarthy would as well.
Thing, then?
And all of the things she said are being challenged as we speak, and we're talking about it still, and we're going to continue to talk about it, and it's going to be challenged in Parliament and possibly even in the courts, who knows, as time goes on. And it's not to say don't protest, but I just don't like it. I just don't like it.
That's the way to do it. Now, what's the next thing? Are these guys going to sit on the petrol stations, on the gas stations, I mean, look, there must be a strategy.
Well, that's happened already. That's happened already, hasn't it? People gluing themselves to garage forecourts.
Yeah, but this is not attracting negative publicity, and any publicity is good, people say, but this one has just tipped. I mean, because I'm a big fan of the activity, the intention. But the activism has to be positive, isn't it? I mean, you really need to get younger people on your side in a nice way, not on the wrong side of the law.
Well, it doesn't always have to be nice. I don't mind things not being nice. I don't mind things being challenging and ugly and difficult, and it's bound to be the case. But I just think when it comes to somebody's home, it's too much.